back to the Berg podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And today we're talking a little bit about PTO. We were in the conversation earlier, and this is like a normal thing for us. At the end of every calendar year, we've always got guys in a position where they're trying to see what they can roll over, trying to figure out how to burn a couple of days. I know, Ford, you mentioned we had probably, I would think, more than normal guys who were taking some PTO right around the time we were having our Christmas holiday party. A handful of guys missed that, but good for them. They were off. They were enjoying time, doing things that they wanted to do with their friends, their family, whatever it might be. Some of it probably was the timing of the holidays this year, like the midweek, Christmas, the midweek New Year's Day,
we also struggle with when to have. We always struggle with when to have that event because Ford used to do it back in the day. Ford, you would shoot for what? Not Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas Eve or something, right? We
would originally do it on Christmas Eve. We would do it in the morning.
Yeah, it was usually just Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we'd do it in the morning on Christmas Eve.
Because the goal was that we knew stereotypically most men that afternoon needed to do some shopping. And so we thought if we had a morning and a little luncheon, and then they could possibly go
cut out for a couple hours.
Yeah, and some presents before they had to be home for dinner, that it would be beneficial for everybody.
But eventually we moved it back, and this one just sort of fell in a way that was a little bit odd, and the guys are burning vacation, and it's one of the things that's sort of what we wanted to talk about.
A bunch of years we did it on Fridays too, right?
Well, so as long as it falls a certain way, we do it on a Friday.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things. I just got back from vacation, and I got away, and it was great. I got to be away, shut it down about as much as I possibly could, and spend. I took the full week, which normally I sort of bookend around the weekend so that I don't feel like I'm gone. It's an obligation thing. I feel like I'm, I need to be available and need to be here, and it was good for me. It was mentally, emotionally healthy that I could get away, be with my family. You know what I mean? We did what we wanted to do in the winter, which is opposite of everybody else. We go north, and we got skiing in. It was great. The weather was great. But I really started to think about how important it is to take that time and to not take it because you have to take it, right? Not to take it. And you can give a bunch of examples, right? Like if we happen to have a holiday that falls, let's say 4th of July, it falls on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and we'll see guys burn vacation, and that's good. They get away, but like do something with your vacation, whatever it is. It could be a project at home. It doesn't have to be going anywhere. But all too many times I feel like we end up burning vacation, because you don't feel well, because your kids are sick, because you didn't use it all year, because
those are important uses too.
They are. But I think that, we try to make sure that everybody has enough vacation that they can really take it. And even if it's only 1 week a year that you get a chance to unplug, regardless of whether you're digging a ditch or you're managing a project, to just unplug and just go be you outside of work. I think there's value in that. And we've talked about that historically. And just coming off my vacation, I sort of felt that it was something we could talk about, that, plan it out, figure it out, and realize that your vacation is supposed to be for more than just saving up in case. Because I feel like that's what, as a parent, earlier on, that's a lot what you do, right? Like you don't know, and you need the days in case. And so you save some, and then all of a sudden it gets to be November and you get an email from Tracy and it says, hey, you got to burn these days because you can only carry X amount of days. Yeah. And then we got guys, Joe Griffin is the
notorious.
Joe Griffin is notorious. He gets to the end, he can take off like the entire month of December because he's still carrying last year's vacation. You know what I mean? Like it just becomes a whole thing. Yeah. And so, everybody lived their life the way they want, but
I think right there, like just using the word burning it, like if people use vacation for many different reasons, it's really, like you said, it could be a kid to a doctor's appointment. It could be a lot of different things. But, our whole goal is to hope that it is used in the manner that is most beneficial to the team member.
Yeah.
And it's not just a wasted day because they have to.
Yeah.
I think that's what the end of the season always gets to, is we hear guys are just like, well, I just took off that day because
I had him. I had to get rid of him.
I had him. I had to, like, whatever. And it's like, well, that doesn't benefit them. Or, we want people to use them strategically. We want them to use them to the benefit to themselves, whether it's getting away or using it for a family event or whatever the scenario is. But every time we hear that at the end of the year, well, I'm just going to burn some days, you're just like, that doesn't really benefit it isn't the benefit that we're hoping to give to the team member to have the benefit of vacation when they're just basically, oh, I guess I'll sit at home. So we just want them to really use them in a way that, I don't care. Like you said, it could be fixing a heater at the house. It could be a lot of different things, but we just want them to be as well thought out as possible so that they can actually enjoy that time that they're getting paid to be at home.
One of the things we did like 10 years ago, right, was we went away from a model that separated how you could use your time off, your paid time off. And I thought that was really important. And I know some organizations do this, and I think they're trying to find balance between, time for appointments or taking care of kids. But I think one of the things that we did right, and maybe our folks disagree, but we said paid time off. It's not sick time. It's not personal time. It's not vacation time. It's you get X number of days, hours accrued throughout the year to use at your discretion, and we're going to pay you for not being here. And I thought that was important. And I think that because, I agree. I think it's crucial that our folks find time to disengage from work. We talk about how difficult that is. The expectation that all of us are constantly available has only gotten worse over the last 5 to 10 years, with the way we access each other through email and phone calls and text messages and Teams messages and whatever else it might be. We're just all so abundantly available that it is tough to separate from work at times, right? But I think that, ultimately the goal being like folks have the flexibility to take the time off when they need it, use it how they need it. And, if that means that they got a home project that they've been putting off for a little while and they're going to burn a day or two. I use it again.
They're going to utilize.
They're going to utilize a day or two to get that project done. I think that's the same. I think that is disengagement.
Yep.
As long as they can hopefully separate themselves from the two different types of responsibilities.
Which
right?
also has a lot to do with the rest of the team. Part of really the key to allowing the idea of disengaging to work is for the team to pick up the pieces, support that team member's role, and then not force them to re-engage, right? Because when you think about it, there is some internal drive that has resulted in us always checking our email, right? Always making sure we got to be engaged. We got to know what's going on, right? It's us individually. But there's another part that I really fail at a lot of times with you and not respecting your vacation time, that I'll forget that you're on vacation and then I'll give you a call. Right. And now I drag you back into it. And it's almost like we talk about atomic habits. We talked about that. I like it. It's like a trigger. Well, now I've told you that there's a problem. You know what I mean? Now are you going to ignore the problem, or are you going to say like, okay, well, just give me 10 minutes and I'll look at it, and then you get me an answer, and now I've interrupted your family time, right? And so part of it is not just the person being willing to disengage, the employee, but also the team being willing to say like, okay, that person's not available. We need to find the answer ourselves. Sure. And something I thought about when Ford was talking is, if we, you always say about Christmas comes every year, you could plan for it, right? That we could set up this topic as a recurring topic at 3 times of years, and you'd have 3 different conversations, right? So if you set it up in the middle of summer, we'd be at the point where we're trying to manage everybody taking their vacation. So we're sitting here in January, and we're saying we want everyone to plan to do what they want to do to take their vacations. Then we get to July or August, and we're like, okay, everybody's taking their vacations because their kids are home, and we're trying to manage, and we got full bore going, and we're shorthanded, and what are we going to do about this? And we don't complain about it, right? But it's a piece that has to be managed. And then you get to that like Thanksgiving window, right, where we know that a good portion of our team is going to want to be hunting. Plus, you have the holidays coming, and that will be a completely different conversation, because you have half the people that are utilizing their vacation the way we want them to, and another percentage of them that Tracy's sending emails to and saying you have to burn these days or you're going to lose them. Like you're going to lose your own vacation. And so as we sat here, I was thinking about that. If we set it up to schedule it, we could talk the same topic. It'd be 3 completely different conversations based on time of year, you know. And the other piece that's really hard right now, this time of year, is snow. right?
Sure.
Because snow works well outside of our normal schedule. It does not, the winter weather does not care if it's Monday or Sunday. It doesn't care if it's Christmas, New Year's, or your wife's birthday. It does not
9
care.
a.m. or midnight, doesn't matter.
It's going to show up when it's going to show up. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And we're going to have to go deal with it. And so, we just went through that. We've had a bunch of winters that were virtually nothing, like they were nuisances. At this point now, we're on a little bit of a run where we're in a pattern that looks like it can really develop some snow, maybe again this weekend. And the guys had to fight through 2 storms. Depending if you talk to them, some of them think it was 3 or 4 storms, but there's not enough hours to divide it up that way over a weekend based on how weather works, or how weather works. Defines how weather works.
Yeah, right.
There's not enough, but our team this weekend. I mean, we put in a lot of hours this weekend. And it's hard because they can't really work now because there's all the snow on the ground. It's you're not going to be overly effective. But our team is not built to want to sit home, like especially to want to sit home when you're not getting paid.
Sure,
you know what I mean. So they're all too willing to come in and go to work, and it's a rough balance sometimes to say like, okay, listen, you're going to have worked 40 hours on Saturday and Sunday. And then there's a potential monster storm coming on Saturday, Sunday next week that you might have to work another 40 hours. Like, I know you don't want to sit home, but by the same, and like, that's a really tough balance sometimes, because our clients, first, will they even let us sit home?
Oh, right.
But even if they would let us sit home, acknowledging the weather's just not beneficial to work right now, does the team want to sit home? And somebody has to fix all this stuff, that we utilized and it gets beat up during storms, and make sure there's salt and make sure everything's fueled and greased and the brooms work and the blowers work and the pushers work. So it's a lot to manage for the guys.
Yeah, and it is the unpredictability, I think, is what makes it different. It's not the fact that we've got to continue to prepare, execute, and be prepared for what comes next. That's not really all that inherently different from our normal work. And how we utilize the hours, how we manage the resources, knowing that things are going to go wrong, break. We got to make sure the materials are in place at the right time. That's not inherently different. It's the timing of it. I mean, like when it's going to snow, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
You made that like a Sheets thing.
I was thinking,
you might have been thinking of a breakfast sandwich.
I was thinking about breakfast sandwiches because that's a big part of snow, right? Yeah. It is. Yeah. Usually not Sheets though. It's usually Wawa.
Usually Wawa.
Yeah. But when that's going to happen from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., like the vendors and things that we rely on to maybe provide parts to repair things or to show up and deliver the material, like that doesn't happen between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Right?
Yeah. Well, and so, how are you going to get there?
You did all the work. Like our guys worked in various stages between 12 and 20 hours or 12 and 22 hours, something like that, over the course of those 2 days. And like in that amount of time, there wasn't a way to replenish, repair, prepare for what comes next, knowing though that Monday morning everything else continues to happen, and that we've got another storm coming and all of those things.
And Ford and I always would laugh and say like the fun part of snow is that when you're done with it, it's just gone. Like when we move earth and then something has to happen. But generally we move snow and then it's gone. Yeah. And then we can come back and do it again. It's like sort of, it's not even real in some sense. But that you don't know how much. When you were talking about that, the difference, I feel like the difference would be if we pulled into, if it's a residential job, like, okay, we're going to do a house. Well, is it a Rotelli house or is it, a Griffiths or Pinemore house? Are we talking, like a normal residential house, or are we talking, a rancher, or are we talking a monster, 15,000+ square foot house? So is it 1 acre or is it 10 acres? Or if you make it earth moving,
sure.
Are we moving 10,000 yards or are we moving 200,000 yards? I don't know. There's a chance, because that's the weather reports are so crazy for it that it'd be like saying like, okay, so, well, this weekend we're going to move some dirt. It's going to be between 10 and 90,000 yards to be moved. And it's going to fall, you're going to have to move it sometime starting on Saturday or Saturday night. And you have to be done by Sunday morning or potentially Sunday night. And there may be a break in the middle where you actually are not moving 90 at all. You're going to move 45, and then you'd think you'd go home, and you got to come back, and you're going to have to move another 45. Right? Like it's that.
Well, and you have to be done by Monday. Like no ifs, ands, or buts, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah. Unless it's Martin Luther King Day, and then you also have to be done, but you don't really have to be done. I don't know if that got back to you guys about this, but Brightview was trying to shut us down at Vanguard on Sunday because they wanted to go home. They had had enough. And they were like, you guys are in pretty good shape. They're closed tomorrow for Martin Luther King Day. So really, we could just come back at 3 a.m. And the guys are like, no, it's like 7 o'clock at night. Like, no, we're gonna stay until we're done, and then we're gonna go home and we're gonna go to sleep. Yeah. We are not gonna drive home, sleep for an hour and a half, and then come back. Right. You know, and there's some other dynamics there of how pay for individual people work at different companies, and when they want to work and when they don't want to work, and salary and hourly for outside of Berg construction. Sure. Yeah. But I heard about that before. They actually said, "Don't worry about it. It's closed. We come back tomorrow." It's like, you know, if they would have said, "Hey, let it snow, all the snow on the ground, don't do anything, and then come in on Monday," we'd have been like, "Oh, that's fine. Yeah, we won't work Sunday. We'll work Monday. It'd be great." But no, they wanted us to work all day Sunday, but then not quite finish, and then come back Monday and do it all over again.
Well, I think it's interesting too. Like, it's actually part of our transition as a company. We always, like, snow is a seat of your pants. Like, there's just no way in around it. Like, as Dan was just talking about, you could be moving a bucket of snow. You could be moving as much snow as you can handle, all in the same time frame, all based on some people that their job is to be wrong half the time at least. And, you know, as we started to become more professional, become more planning and organizing, like, our project managers, they're looking ahead. They're trying to look out for details. They're ordering materials. They're doing all this stuff ahead of time and trying to get us into a better situation. Mm-hmm. Before, everything ran the way snow does, so it didn't affect us. But now you got people there that are trying to, like, manage something they're not used to because they don't realize that you have to throw the book out during a snowstorm, because it's basically look up at the sky, see what's happening, call your teammate 3 miles away, see what's happening over there, and basically make a plan. Like, that is how snow operates. And so
it's like an emergency
can be a little
action
disconcerting
plan
for people.
Yeah. And it suits Ford and I. Like, the reality is it's what made Brian probably have no hair, was that we like to run that way. You know what I mean? But I don't even want to say, Ford, that we like to run that way. We're just comfortable in that level of chaos. And we've said, we sort of feel like maybe we operate better than others in that level of chaos. And so we're comfortable, but it's not repeatable. Like, that's what we've tried to figure out over the years, is how do we have our team who is really working on structure and process and organization so that we can grow as a company to what we are, but still do snow, which is outright chaos. Mm-hmm. And you know, Ford sort of hit on it, that the people we have managing snow now, sometimes it stresses them beyond normal because they can't structure anything. Like, the process is not there, and if you try and make it a process, it's a problem. You know, and I think snow goes back to the riverboat gambler, wildcatter style that Ford and I run sometimes. There's that Landman show that I like, that I don't know if you watch that, and a few of the other guys watch it, that we talk about it. But the wife goes to the casino. She's arguing with the dealer about something for these old guys. And she said, well, you can always win at roulette if you just bet colors, as long as you're willing to play long enough. Mm. And it goes further than I think statistically would be likely what happens. But, like, she bets, $100 on black, loses. So she doubles it, 200 on black, loses. 400 on black, loses. 800 on black, loses. 1,600 on, I think she makes it to 3,200, finally hits. Mm. And then she hits a few in a row. But the thinking being that you lost, if you add the 1 plus the 2 plus the 4. And I sort of, in my head, I always go back to a couple times where Ford and I would gamble. And in a perfect scenario, the way we used to gamble with it was if he and I could be at different places, but we were close enough, right? We kept our hubs fairly close, other than a couple times we got a little too far apart. And we would make a decision on what we were going to do, and then we would have a text or a call, and we would sort of say, okay, this is what I think I'm going to do. And even if we both agreed, one of us would trail, right? Like, let the other one do it first and see what happens. Mm. Or we might completely disagree on what we're going to do based on what we were seeing, and we would both try it and then let each other know, like, hey, this is working or this isn't working in real time, so that we were guessing based off of the conditions, but we were utilizing, 2 to 3 people who were, because Luke was also involved at that point. So there'd be 3 of us guessing, maybe doing the same, maybe doing completely different things. Maybe one person's going to let it sit, one person's going to push as soon as he has enough, one person's going to salt, and I think I can hold it off, and it became like a card game. Yeah. We're like, okay, who's going to be right? And you would almost, I feel like Ford, we would almost at times be like, okay, well, if Ford and Luke say that they're going to push and hold, I'm gonna salt, almost like a card game. Like, you know what? I think I can get this with salt. And we talk about what the risk of it was. Like, Tom was always nervous because I would burn salt. I'm a fan of salt because if you put enough salt down and you can hold it off, you don't have to push it. And if you don't have to push it, you don't have to clean it up. And that's really where the problem was always for me is we were amazing back in the day and still today at how fast we could clear lots. I mean, Ford and I love the pictures of the road and the lot clean, and the state hasn't even come through yet.
Right, yeah.
We love that picture. It's what we did. And then in our I hate ADHD, but in our task switching nature, whatever it is that we jump around, we're like, and we're done. And then 6 hours later, we're still there shoveling curb lines. Like we weren't done. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There was still all the detail work to do. And so that fear always has me when I use salt. Because if I can salt it away, there's nothing at the curbs. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to shovel. I don't have to make guys use all the little machines. We can let's just pound this thing. And I sort of take an approach that Ford taught me early on as I moved into dirt, which was dirt is cheaper than stone and stone is cheaper than macadam or concrete, right? Like if you're going to make a mistake, fix it in dirt. And if you miss it in the dirt, you better fix it in the stone, because if you get to the concrete or the macadam, this is going to be an expensive fix.
Yeah.
And for me, I always apply that with salt. Like the cheapest way to fix this is salt. Ford, do you have any thoughts on that? Because Ford is a fan of salt as well, but Ford also likes to run the equipment.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it's one of those things actually I've seen when I was out the other storm there. Like, I've seen some people take more of the slow method to cleaning, and I was actually trying it myself for the last storm. And instead of just trying to blast open the entire area, they were taking more like, okay, we're gonna do the corners first and get them exposed, and then we'll push the center. And it was kind of an interesting thing because it kind of reminds me how our best dozer operators work. They do the same thing. Like they don't just worry about pushing the pile; they're going to work the edges and get it all prepped. And so when they're done, they're done. And it is a risk because sometimes salt works, sometimes it doesn't. There's so many scientific factors involved that like don't really matter, but they do. Is the temperature going to drop? And the temperature going up? Is it how long till daylight hits? Is it going to be sunny tomorrow? Blah blah blah. It all goes into it too. But the main thing is when you got a team of people out there that've been out there for a long time, your main goal is to get them home as quick as possible, as safe as possible. Like so, whatever it takes is what you're going to do because that is the main goal.
Yeah. I think that's something that gets lost a lot of times that we don't deliver to the team is nobody wants the team home faster than Ford and I. You know what I mean? Like we lived this life for a long time doing this as a way to survive the winter, right? To say like we need to be able to keep our team busy, families fed, and the company moving, and snow's the way we're going to do that. And that Ford and I lost a lot of time, with our families to do that. And so did everyone else around us that we did that plan with. But our goal was always to get them home as fast as possible. And that was one of I don't know about Ford, but for me, that was always one of the hard parts is when guys would come to me and be like, we're done. Can we go home? And like, nobody wants to say yes more than us, but we're not done. Like, and the part that is left is the part that I hate. You know what I mean? Like we got to sit here and shovel and I'm going to have to talk to the client or the owner. And like, he's going to say like, well, you missed this spot. And I'm going to say like, dude, we've been here for 24 hours. Like you've been home in your slippers, drinking coffee. Like this place is plenty good. You know what I mean? But they don't see it that way. And we learned what that looked like over the years. And that's probably the hardest part is, to have to tell a guy who's worked that far and done what they believe is a minimum standard that's acceptable and should be that the other people are not going to accept that. So we're going to have to do a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, and Ford would always get to me is when they would say, we got to shovel off the light post. Like, no one's slipping on a light post. And it's 10 degrees
out. No
out.
one's going to hang out at the light post.
No, and it's 10 degrees out. That's not going to melt. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Like, just let us go home.
Well,
they're like, no, clean that.
Something that aggravates me a lot, and it happened just the last couple of years, but we took on a new client for snow. And we talked to them and we explained to them how we do it. And they said, that's how we want it done. Okay, fine. So we worked for them for a couple of years, and then they're like, oh, well, somebody, is going to do it cheaper. Okay, fine. And then you go there and you realize that they're not doing it to the spec that we do it to. Like, we only do snow one way. We won't take a client on that doesn't do it this way because we're used to it. We know what it needs to be. And, we want this kind of product. If we're going to put our, name on it, it's going to be done right. And then you drive past the site and you're like, oh, so they're doing half as much work. Well, of course they did it cheaper, but it's just so funny because we've been doing it the same way for almost 20 years. And so literally, like, we don't know any other way. Like, if you see snow on a curb or on a sidewalk or whatever the scenario is, you're like, yep, no, didn't finish the job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's just, it's one of those things that we always try to say, like, thanks to the guys, you know what I mean? But it's telling somebody at 3 a.m. when they just work 24 hours, thank you. Like, first, they don't care. And second, they just want to go home. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? So that's always been one of the things that still sticks in my mind more than anything that Berg ever did was, I think it was the Merc year. And Ford went out and he had, I feel like it might have actually been Tori the first time, but like Ford had, I say the girls, but I don't actually know who the girls were. It could have been Kelly. I don't know who it was, but he sent out a thing and said, like, text me what store your wife would like, right? And to get something from. And so, which sounds like an odd question, right? But, and so he said this. And so a lot of people, everybody responded. And a lot of the guys gave what is probably the right answer for them, wrong answer for their wives, about what store it would be. And then Ford gave out gift certificates to everybody because it didn't, the reason that really struck me as an employee, as one of the ones that was working, is it wasn't about the money anymore. Like, we had worked so many hours that it didn't matter. Like, we had made so much overtime. And I mean, I was salary, so I wasn't, but
sure.
But I understood what was going on. And it was hard to get guys to come to work because they had worked so much that the money actually didn't matter anymore. Like, they had made double or triple what they were supposed to make that week. And it was Wednesday. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to work another 20 hours. Like, it just kept snowing that year.
Right.
And the sites were so big. And Ford's thought when he explained it to me was, he said, like, the people that are actually paying for this are the spouses, are the girlfriends, are the kids. He said, so I want to give them a gift certificate of a significant amount to it was an equal amount to everybody for that. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things that really, it meant something. And it's been so long since it snowed like that. I mean, a decade since it snowed like that. And we're not even there now. I mean, like that year we're talking about, we had twin 22-inch storms. It snowed like 70 inches that year. You know what I mean? We're sitting at less than 20. We're at like 18 inches of snow. I mean, even if we get a big storm this weekend, we'll be sitting at 30 max. We're halfway to what that year was, Right. So it was a completely different thing. But part of I think the trick is finding ways to communicate to the team to let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. You realize that this is costing them something, personally, because the snow never happens during the week. And when it does, Brian, that's a nightmare. Like, the last thing, it's such a catch-22 Ford. And I don't know if Ford's going to be comfortable with me saying it this way, but a snowstorm at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday is a nightmare for me. There's all the cars are there. The people are going to come. They're wearing high heels. The guys are going to come in dress shoes or sneakers. They're going to park their cars. I'm going to clear the spot, and they're still going to park in the same spot they always park in, even though it hasn't been cleared. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to clear everything, and then they're going to come out and brush their cars off. Now there's snow all over the road again. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, everything about it is bad.
Sure, yeah.
But it would be convenient.
Right, for our folks. Because it happens during their normal working hours.
Because it happens during their normal working hours. So it's like,
and when their spouses expect them to be gone from work and all those things. Right?
So it would be convenient, but it would be it makes it a nightmare.
But operationally, it's much more difficult.
Yeah, operationally, much more difficult. It's much easier to do a snowstorm at night, or And Ford, one of the other funny things that always happens with snow, we talked about it before, is you have your flashers, your blinkers, your lights, whatever, and you work all these hours, and then it gets to be the end of the storm, and you're driving home in your personal or company car, and you start failing to stop at red lights. You just there's been nobody on the road.
Signs, red lights.
Stop signs, red lights. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This is different now. I have to follow the rules.
Follow traffic laws again.
Follow traffic laws. Yeah, I can remember one time recently, Ford, at it was actually at Vanguard, and a week, a midweek storm, and it's probably like 4 years ago maybe, and there was like a nurse coming out of somewhere in the Vanguard area and she got her car stuck, and I was trying to get out of the Wawa, and she was in my way coming back, and so I just jumped out of my truck, and I was like, lady, do you want me to help you? And she was like, I'm stuck. I was like, all right, this sounds crazy, but you get in my truck and I'll get in your car. I'll get your car out, and then I'll walk back down, and then I'll drive you to your car. And she was like, okay. And got out of her car and let me drive her car. And I got her car out and got it to the high spot so she'd be okay. And then came back and drove her to it. But I was like, that's the midweek thing. You know what I mean? That, you got people who are not used to driving in those conditions, not used to being in that environment, and they have to because it's what's required.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, not only that, but think about the funniness of someone's just like, hey, yeah, go ahead, jump in my car and drive it for me. On a normal day, that would,
on a normal day, that would
require
not
a
happen.
police report.
Yeah, I was going to say, you call the police.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't be allowed to work near schools anymore or something.
Get out of your vehicle. I'm going to drive it now.
They call that carjacking most days. I did leave her my vehicle. It was more like trading. And it was a good trade because I think I was driving 12, or 12 was much nicer than.
Snow's unpredictable. It is a part of what we do,
and we appreciate everybody doing it.
We do appreciate the time and effort that it takes, and for those who are doing it, and for those who are being impacted by it but not doing it. So that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We hope that you got something from this episode, and we hope you come back.